A warning, this podcast contains content some listeners may find confronting or distressing. Listener discretion is advised.
9 podcasts.
Hello.
Hi, Louis. Adam Hegarty here at 60 Minutes. How are you?
Not too bad.
Good. If I can borrow some of your time, I'm just obviously recording this for the podcast I'm working on. No, I know, but I would just love... I bet by now you'd have even more questions than I do for Louis Bengoa. But as you heard there, true to form for him over the past 7 years, he's not prepared to say much at all. It's as infuriating now as it was at the coronial inquest.
Mr. Bengoa, is there anything you'd like to say to Corey and Tom's family? Nothing at all? Well, it was a lot of no comment in court. Is there anything you really do remember?
No comment.
My experience covering the 5 days of that inquest in Cairns in October 2020 isn't only where I got introduced to this case,
Live now to Adam Hegarty in Cairns. Adam, a week-long inquest...
but where I got so connected to it. I felt so uneasy with the court process.
Jonathan will be taking us back to Alva Beach in 2018. Tom Davey...
I've got one vivid memory in particular. I remember looking at Heather Davey, Tom's mum, and Jay Christensen, Corey's widow, as I walked out of the courtroom to throw questions at Louis after he gave evidence.
Is that fair to the families not remembering anything from that night?
Heather and Jay were sitting next to each other, visibly shattered. Heather was even shaking her head. They came to the inquest thinking they'd be able to question what police ruled had happened. Instead, the focus seemed to be elsewhere. It was, rightly mind you, on the failed police and paramedic response that could have stopped it all. But it also became, I feel, an exercise in picking apart Candice, Locke and Louis Bengoa's role in escalating the situation. And hey, you might be listening to all of this and be thinking they are partly to blame.
Bucky was one of them, and he ended up just getting real crazy and pushed me out. And
I just thought, because I remember she said I hurt my arm, and I just said, just like I'd say to anyone, he'll be right.
This brings me to being here right now with this guy.
And Thomas just parked up around the corner. I could hear Thomas going, "Candice, come on, I can see you."
It just felt like forever sitting there, and these guys were banging on the door, screaming my name.
It's so important to me to not come at this with bias. Of course I feel for the Davey and Christensen families. It's hard not to. But what makes this case so difficult is you can end up feeling for everyone. I sat there and watched Candice burst into tears on the stand. I also heard a psychiatrist report talking about how traumatised Dean was, and I'm reliably told he still is. As I've said repeatedly, in the eyes of the law, Dean's done nothing wrong. I also recall feeling incredibly annoyed at Louis Bengoa. He gave no comments or claimed he didn't remember a thing, and he's never changed that tune to this day. As we just heard on the phone call when I tried to reach out to him yet again for this investigation. In this episode, we'll be delving into Candice, Locke and Louis Bengoa's behaviour, and whether their actions should be the focus of all of this, in particular Louis'. You might already be questioning his character and what he did. Now I can tell you, not only did he flat out lie to the police, he did so repeatedly.
But I can't stand to even look at him now. I don't want nothing to do with him.
Corey Christensen's dad, David, is fed up with Louis too. Considering the fact Louis was one of Corey's best mates, but can't give his family the answers they so desperately want. Both Louis and Candice have been questioned, they've given official statements, and faced cross-examination at the inquest. It's not unreasonable to conclude that the reason there are still questions is because of Candice and Louis. Whether you put it down to intoxication, fear, shock, or confusion, a lot of what they say completely contradicts each other and Dean. What we end up with is Dean, Candice, and Louis, the only 3 people who were there that night who are still alive, telling conflicting tales about key moments and key details. And it all distorts the truth of how and why Tom Davey and Corey Christensen ended up dead. I'm Adam Hegarty. Welcome to episode 6, Louis and Candice.
That's when we went straight over to Jay's place because they'd been there first, and Karen and I said, we got to get over and see Jay and the boys. And then I run into Bengoa. He was pulled up there. And I said, what the hell happened? I thought Corey had fallen off the buggy and was killed. I didn't know anything about this stabbing. I said, what the hell has happened? And he said, oh, down the road there, he said, he didn't want to say much about it, eh?
Louis didn't want to say much?
No, he just said down there, he said it all happened down there at Webber's house, he said.
Did you get an impression that he was hiding something from you?
I don't know. I can't say that, eh? It's just that he was very, I think he might have seen more than what he's telling us.
I've gone through every word, every statement, and every interview Louis has ever given to police, and his evidence at the inquest. It includes Louis' drunken explanation on police body cam from the moments after Corey and Tom died, and a discussion with lead detective Gavin Neal when they took him back to Dean's home days later. One thing becomes abundantly clear through all of it. His story changes constantly. To begin with, he hid the fact the buggy ride ever happened when talking to police. He's never come clean about what he told Tom to get him to go to Dean's house. And perhaps most crucially, he says he never went inside the house, which we know doesn't stack up with Dean's story. The clear insinuation is he's always known more than he's let on. So as you're listening to Louis throughout this episode, keep in mind the deputy coroner decided in the end he was an unreliable witness.
Lewis, Louis.
We'll start with the buggy ride. Something Louis fails to mention to police at the scene that night in any of the body cam conversations we have.
People and find out what happened to get their version.
I'd love to know too.
Okay. But do you
It's fair to say Louis is drunk. It's just after 2 a.m.
We'll just write down some details.
I can't. That's my best mate there.
He's also clearly distraught and in shock about losing his mate Corey. And criticism aside, it's really quite difficult not to feel for him in this moment.
I'm still trying to figure out how I Doctor's like a kid in the morning, so I just want to go in the hole, go to a place in the morning.
Okay.
Still, one of the only things police had to go off in these early stages were his intoxicated and incoherent recollections. He doesn't even get Candice's name right. He calls her Jacinta.
Oh, so you only just met that gentleman tonight?
Yeah, that one and the one that Tom and Jacinta.
He simply doesn't tell the cops the whole story. And it's the start of a series of incorrect statements that surely would have hindered the investigation. Here he describes the fight between Tom and Candice at the grand final party.
I'm a friendly bloke, and then he was trying to go, come on, let's go. Like, and she's, no, right, I gave her a few rums, and then all of a sudden she's like, can't bank. You know, a little bit money, and then we're here, and he's slick as there, and he played a bit fox. He said, I'm going, but he ends up parking his vehicle there. Then he's like, I'll go. We said, we'll come and find where she is. Yeah, we're coming here. And then all of a sudden they probably knock her, and there's this. He's running, going, ring an ambulance. I goes, oh. Yeah. And there's like all that, blah, and he, my best buddy. There. Yeah. I don't know what more you want.
No, I understand.
It's difficult to make out clearly, but you can hear how he glazes over the details. He even says it was Tom's idea to go and get Candice. A few hours later, though, that story's already changed. In his official written statement to the police, Louis does then talk about the buggy ride, but there's still a shocking omission and a glaring error. For starters, he doesn't admit to any incident that left Candice injured, saying they just went for an uneventful ride before they drove back to the party and Candice just disappeared. The next day he goes into damage control, amending his statement, and he fesses up to Candice being injured. But he tells police she fell off. He doubles down on that story when he's speaking to lead detective Gavin Neal back at Dean's house 2 days later.
If we could start from when you came back on the buggy.
Yep.
with Candice and so forth. Could you tell us what's happened from there?
Oh, we were come down from the beach. We were coming the back way and she fell off on the way. And she said, oh, I hurt my shoulder. And I just said, oh, you'll be right. And she got back in that she said, stop, I've hurt. And I said, oh, you'll be right. I thought it was just drunken, a little thing. And then she must have got upset or worried and bolted.
It's not until the inquest, years later, Louis has no choice under oath to admit to his lies. This is a reenactment of his testimony while being questioned by a lawyer.
You lied and told the police nothing, that she had never fallen from the bike. You went for a ride, you came back to the party, nothing had happened. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
And then she just disappeared from the party. That's what you told them in the first statement, isn't it?
Yep.
And it was Corey who knew where she might have gone. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
That's what you told the police?
Yep.
And they were all lies, weren't they?
Yep.
It only took 2 years. But it gets worse than that. Louis is accused of lying repeatedly in the early hours and days after Tom and Corey's deaths.
Did you come here just the one time or 2 times?
One time.
Only one time?
Yep.
Okay. So where did the buggy pull up?
Near the trees there.
Trees there. Okay. And once so did anyone come up to the house from when you first arrived after you did you come here to the house at all first with just Corey?
No.
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 Okay. So
I come past on my own.
On your own?
Yep.
Yep. And no one came up to the house?
No,
then?
I went that way.
Yep, that way?
Yeah.
All right, so you went and got Corey?
Yep.
Then you came back round?
I pulled up and saw Thomas.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay, came here. Now, was it a situation that someone may have come up to the house first and then gone back to the buggy?
Not that I can remember.
Not that you can remember?
No, not that I can recall, no. I'm just thinking. No, I can't. No, buggy was over there. I'm sure we all come together.
Yep. Okay.
Try to think.
Louis has always insisted he and Corey went and found Tom sleeping in his car before all 3 went up to Dean's house in search of Candice. But the evidence almost certainly suggests Louis and Corey first went to Dean's home, just the 2 of them, and then recruited Tom to help. The deputy coroner agreed. It seems like a small detail, but it's significant because we need to know who was Dean scared of and why. At the inquest, Louis' memory was infuriatingly fuzzy. Again, this is a reenactment.
So, could you and Corey have gone to the house before you woke up, Mr. Davey?
I can't remember.
So that could have happened?
I can't remember.
Okay. It's not the case you went to the house to try and stop this girl from ringing the police or the ambulance?
No, I can't remember.
And when you couldn't get her out of the house, you went to wake up Mr. Davey?
I can't remember.
Okay. See, who actually woke up Mr. Davey?
I can't remember.
That brings us to what, if any, threats were made at Dean's door. And who by? Louis either refuses to reveal that or, once again, can't recall.
Do you recall anything else that that Corey and Tom were saying?
Into Candice or to...
Yeah, to the young fella inside?
No. All I could hear was Thomas. He had quite a deep, and he was, well, Candice.
Yeah. What sort of voice was he using?
Just, first it started off like Candice and then gradually got more aggressive.
Yep.
I don't recall them saying anything to the people inside, and there were only 1 or 2. I don't know how many people were inside.
Yep. No worries.
Tell me what the young fella inside said to you.
I couldn't hear him. I heard a bit of, but I couldn't understand clearly what it was said.
While it's hard to trust anything Louis says, considering everything we've just read and heard, he was adamant at the inquest he didn't hear a single threatening word.
Did you hear either Tom or Corey yell the words, "You know I'll fuck you up"?
No.
Did you hear Tom or Corey yell, "Come back out, you stupid bitch"?
No.
Did you hear them yell, either of the men yell, "Weak scum, I'm going to find you and you'll never forget this"?
No.
It's worth noting, and we'll come to this, Candice didn't hear any threats either. Now let's consider this. What was Tom told, in particular by Louis, for it all to escalate to a point where he seemingly felt like he had to go and help Candice? You can only wonder when you hear this from Louis, when he's standing outside the scene that night.
So that say Tom's name?
Yep.
Tom. This is FWB.
What's FWB?
Parental benefit.
Okay.
Oh, with this lady?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yep.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've got walk around this side, see if that she's running, but she might be doing multiple FWB.
Oh, is that...
What he's just said is I think she might be doing multiple friends with benefits. Is he implying there that she's having another rendezvous with another guy? What on earth did he tell Tom if this is the kind of stuff he's saying to the cops? Only Louis could know, but he's either keeping that to himself or his memory's lacking on that front too. At the inquest, lawyers could only speculate. Here are a couple of exchanges.
What was he really told?
That Candice had hurt her shoulder and we were going to go look for her.
So you go directly to a house that you didn't see somebody go into?
No.
He was told that she was in serious trouble in the house, wasn't he?
No.
Well, did he ask you, how do you know she's in this house? How do you know which house it is?
Because we went up to where it originally happened and then we looked down, we just thought that was it.
You'd gone and told Mr. Davey that she was in serious trouble to get him to come up in an urgent fashion?
No.
He was very concerned for what you told him. Isn't that correct?
No.
Did you tell him that she'd been dragged in the house?
No.
Did you tell him that this fellow had taken her home up to that house?
No.
You knew that you couldn't get that girl out of the house unless you got Mr. Davey. Isn't that correct?
No.
All because you didn't want to get in trouble with the police. Isn't that correct?
No.
Well, why else would you be up there going to this extent to get somebody out of the house who doesn't want to come out?
Well, Tom was concerned and I thought, well, it's Tom's partner.
He was only concerned for what you told him. Isn't that correct?
No.
Incredibly, we've only scratched the surface here of how much Louis' stories interfered with the early investigation. And this next bit is the big problem with this case. Who actually went inside Dean's house? Dean has always been adamant. 3 people, Tom, Corey and Louis, came through his door. While it's also one of the few things Louis has never changed his tune on. Repeatedly, he's claimed he did not go inside.
I wandered over between around 15 metres that way before that table for a pee and a smoke, and then I could hear Thomas going, "Candice, come on, I can see you." And then getting noisier and noisier and yelling, and he started to get a little bit annoyed at her for not responding and acknowledging that he was there. And then I don't know how long, it just seemed really quick. It could have been longer, I'm not sure. I heard a bang of some sort. It wasn't glass breaking, it was, I don't know if it was a window getting forced open or a door. And by the time I could get around, I think it was this steps. I think it was this steps I walked up. And I saw Thomas, I probably don't know how far up, when Thomas come out in a white shirt. It was all bloodied, and he said, "Ring 000." I didn't have my phone.
How little Louis helped with this investigation earned him a scathing rebuke from the deputy coroner in her inquest findings. She rubbished almost everything he had to say. She suspects he was with Tom and Corey when Dean's door was forced open, not around the corner as he claims, and that Louis told Tom something that made him think Candice was in danger in Dean's home. This is her assessment, read by an actor.
Mr. Bengoa is the only person who might have been able to give an account of the events that occurred outside Mr. Webber's residence after Ms. Locke entered it. Unfortunately, Mr. Bengoa was an unreliable and unhelpful witness. He initially provided a self-serving version of events to police on the 1st of October 2018, which was inconsistent with his later statements. Throughout the investigation and his evidence at the inquest, he minimised his own conduct as much as possible.
So, while Louis hasn't suffered any legal consequences, he can certainly no longer count the Christensens as friends.
We don't talk.
You don't talk at all?
No. He's never been back to here to see us. And that's what I can't work out. You know, if it was Corey involved in all this, I would have him at those parents' houses. I would have him.
Do you feel like Louis's got a lot to answer for here?
Yeah. Well, see, it's the way it's said, I can't go against it because that's what Louis has said, that he only went out the back of the house. He never seen nothing. He only went out the back of the house and was to have a leak. And he never seen anything. All he seen was when Corey walked past him and fell down onto the footpath, fatally wounded.
Have you ever approached Louis and asked him what really happened?
No.
Has he been honest with you at all? Or has he shed any light on it at all for you?
No. But I can't stand to even look at him now. I don't want nothing to do with him. He could have come and seen Karen and myself. He could have come and sat down and talked with us. And
So as I said, Candice, you know, the terrible incidents happened tonight. I'm sorry to tell you, buddy.
Was he there?
Tom.
Yeah. He left, like what? How? Who did that to him? Do you know who did that to him? Was it one of those boys? What the hell? You shouldn't have went there.
You wanted to know what's going to happen.
Here's the striking difference for me between Louis and Candice. Louis either can't remember things or won't say, while Candice, to her credit, is remorseful. She was incredibly emotional on the stand at the inquest and apologised to the families. When you really think about it, who hasn't done something stupid they regret? The problem for Candice, though, is her actions ended with 2 men dying. She'll always have to live with that. But was her fear justified, or was it embellished? What we can say for sure is her recollection of the night changed. And you're about to listen to that in recorded interviews with police that have never been heard publicly until now.
I was getting a little bit loud, and Thomas wanted to go, and I didn't want to, so that's where we sort of had a bit of an argument. And he got in his car and took off, and I stayed there.
It's probably important we talk about that.
Now, there's something I should say here. While I was going back over this case, I got a call from Candice's dad, Martin Locke. For the NRL fans out there, yes, the former North Queensland cowboy. It was a long chat, about half an hour. He said no to my request for an interview with either him or Candice, but was at pains to say Candice has always tried her best to be honest since that night. And in fairness, compared to Louis, you can't really argue with that.
I was a bit drunk and carrying on a little bit, and I probably should have just got in the car and left with him, but I decided to be difficult. And then Corey and Lewis were aware because I was sort of crying, I was upset.
Was it here, loud, or was it just like we're talking to each other now? Or?
He was just sort of like, don't be a dickhead, like, let's go. And I was like, no, I'm not going anywhere with you. And
So you were discussing it loud enough for other people to hear?
Yes.
Yeah. Did Corey or Lewis or anyone else come over and
We'll have to calm you down or anything like that? Or
No,
just-
Lewis was there and he sort of had a word to him, but he's like to him, you know, if she wants to stay, she wants to stay.
Yeah.
And I was just being a bit stubborn at that point.
Yeah.
And so
it was
Thomas
nothing.
ended up sort of just driving off and I just stayed there.
It was nothing major.
No.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to get.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so...
Candice, along with Louis and Corey, were having such a good time, Corey's wife Jay even took the buggy keys off them because of how drunk they were. Now, Corey was also quoted as saying, "I'm Louis' wingman." It's a bit of an aside, but it does paint a picture of intentions that night and what might have led to them being on the buggy together. Corey's wife Jay did end up giving the keys back, and not long after, Candice and Louis would take that ride.
So you stayed there,
Yeah.
continued watching the footy with the other people there?
No, not really. I was a bit upset. And not long after that, I said to Lewis, I'm like, I want to find Tom. And that's when we got in the buggy and went for a cruise on the beach. Not sure why we were going there, but...
Who'd you go with, sorry?
Lewis.
Oh, Lou?
Yeah.
Candice has said they were simply going to find Tom, but even that came under scrutiny at the inquest. Lawyers pointed out she'd texted Tom saying she wasn't leaving Alva Beach with him, and she'd even stopped replying.
So was this you and Louis on the bike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you didn't find Thomas?
No.
But whether they were going to look for Tom or just going on a joyride, what actually happened next is crucial. You've heard it yourself in the 000 calls, what she was telling Dean and police on the night. This in the first call.
One of them, I was in the buggy with him and he kicked me out.
So you've come out of the buggy, have you?
Well, he kicked me out.
That aggression towards her is something she talks up in the second call.
And I got in the buggy with one of them and he ended up just getting real crazy and pushed me out.
And then this, in her first interview with a police officer just hours after the stabbings, as she's being treated for her broken arm at Air Hospital.
Anyway, he gave me a shove and I actually fell off the buggy and I think that's when I hurt my shoulder. And
when you got pushed off, Louis shoved you off, was that on the beach as well or on the road? Or?
it was on the beach.
But that same day is when her story starts to change significantly. After being transferred to Townsville Hospital, she pulls back in a second recorded interview.
That's when I don't really recall how it happened, but I fell out of the buggy and landed onto my shoulder, onto the hard sand.
So think about where that leaves us. Candice asked Dean for help, not only because her arm was fractured, but because she felt in danger after telling him she'd been pushed off that buggy. Now she's saying that might not have actually happened.
And in that time I've fallen off and hurt myself.
Okay, yeah. That was just an accident?
Yeah.
5 months later, in March 2019, Candice gave what would be her official statement. This is what she wrote. It was an accident and at no stage was I assaulted or touched by any other person. So if that's the case, why was she telling the 000 operator and Dean, who she ran to for help, that Louis hurt her? Unfortunately, it's still not something Candice or Louis can shed any light on with absolute certainty. During cross-examination at the inquest, Candice still couldn't say for sure whether she fell or was pushed, and didn't want to put the blame on Louis if she couldn't recall 100%. Here's a reenactment of what she told the court.
What I want to know is how you came off.
As I've mentioned, I can't recall.
See, as you sit there today, you don't know how you came off the bike.
I was either, shoved or I fell off. Unfortunately, that part's just still a bit foggy.
Here's the point in all this. Clearly Candice jumped around with her story and is being reasonable about not knowing for sure. But if she did fall off and told Dean that instead, would the night have ended with the frightened teenagers stabbing Tom and Corey? It's certainly all very different to what she was telling 000.
And I got in the buggy with one of them and he ended up just getting real crazy and pushed me out. And This brings me to being here right now with this guy. I've been really psycho and I don't know what to do.
So, would you accept that if you described them that way on the 000 calls, that was misleading?
It may have been an exaggeration.
Can you help us with why you've exaggerated that?
I'm not sure.
So even if it was an embellishment, and that saying she fell off might have de-escalated it all, we still need to consider what was happening on the other side of Dean's door. This assertion from Dean that menacing threats were being yelled at him.
"We're going to come get you, Candice, you know, what are you doing, you stupid bitch? You bloody scum, we can see you hiding," and but it was also...
Both Louis and Candice both claim they never heard any threats. So, yes, Louis was considered an unreliable witness, but it's interesting that Candice also didn't remember anything like that.
And that's when I heard the guys banging on the door.
Guys, as in who?
As in Lewis and Corey. And they sounded like they were angrily yelling my name.
Corey, angrily yelling me your name, yeah?
Yeah, and Dean sort of yelled back, you know, "Get off my property, I'm going to call cops," which he did, which I believe aggravated them.
When she's interviewed by police, Candice is never asked directly about those threats. She does, though, reveal she heard someone yelling her name out angrily.
After that, these guys came over and they were sort of, you know, banging on the door. Like it sounded, you know, quite aggressively sort of yelling my name. And obviously I felt, you know, quite uncomfortable. And Dean at this...
We need to point out, of course, Candice was drunk. So her memory would be, as she's already put it, rather foggy. The question raised at the inquest, though, was if she could hear her name being called out loudly and angrily, shouldn't she have been able to hear the threats Dean described? Apparently not.
Is it correct that you didn't hear any threats being yelled by either Louis? That's correct?
That's correct. I didn't hear any threats.
And you had never heard any threats, certainly never heard any threats yelled by Corey?
No.
Your clear memory is that they were calling your name?
When they were knocking on the door, yes.
I'm going to stress yet again, hearing threats is something Dean has always been very consistent about. So can I just say, I've tried really hard to make out any threats on the 000 recordings, because as we know, they capture almost everything else. Here's where I think you can hear one of either Tom, Corey, or maybe Louis calling out from outside Dean's door.
They got any cars?
They're talking.
And what are they saying?
Well, they're trying to open the door and saying I'm scum and you got nothing to say. Why don't you come out here, Candice? Because this is the injured girl name. Candice, get down.
I've even slowed it down. You can definitely hear Candice's name.
Nothing to say. Why don't you come out here, Candice? Say. Why don't you say?
You can also hear someone yell out, "You've got nothing to say."
And what are they saying?
We've slowed that down too. Credit again to Dean there. He's repeating to the operator exactly what he's hearing. Unfortunately, even when we slow it down, we can't hear those really heinous threats he described to completely corroborate and back up what he told police. With that in mind, the focus of these recordings shifted to this question. If it was Tom calling out for Candice, something Louis claims he was doing, why didn't Candice recognise his voice? She was grilled about that at the inquest.
If you'd have heard Tom's name, would you have gone out to him?
Absolutely.
Or heard his voice, I should say?
Yes.
Miss Locke, how certain are you that if Mr. Davey had been calling you from outside the house, that you would have recognised his voice?
Pretty certain.
Pretty certain?
Yes.
Just another example, isn't it, of how saner heads could have prevailed. Tragically, they didn't. The fact Candice didn't know Tom was there is shocking, but also frustrating. Because one thing she could help clarify is who exactly went inside Dean's house and how the deadly confrontation actually occurred. Interestingly, you'll hear in a moment, she told police on the night it might have been 3 men, backing up Dean's story. But later at the inquest, once again, she said she couldn't really say. This is what she said to an officer before he broke the news to her, not only that people were dead, but that Tom was one of them.
Screaming my name, and he was, he was really distressed. I was kind of in so much pain. We ended up turning all the lights off, and him and I were sitting in the kitchen, and these guys were just, God, I don't even know what happened. They ended up getting in, and they were shoving, but all the lights were off, so I didn't actually see.
So how many guys do you reckon were?
Oh, well, it was, I think there might have been 3. And poor Dean was screaming. I'm pretty sure he was on the phone to the cops at this point. And I was just lying in the kitchen in a lot of pain. I just didn't even know what to do. And he must have got them outside because he had the doors locked again, and he came and sat with me, and he was on the phone to the cops. And it took them quite a while to get there, and these guys were just banging on the door. Dean was freaking out, saying he killed someone, and I was like, mate, I said, you're fine, you're helping me, like nothing's... I said, we're okay, just look, we just need to get the cops here ASAP. And I said, add an ambulance, because I was just in so much pain. And we kind of felt like we just felt like forever sitting there, and these guys were banging on the door, screaming my name. I guess the cops came. So I don't know if the guys were gone or they took off. I don't know what really happened then. I was literally just lying on the kitchen floor.
You were on the kitchen floor?
Holding my arm in pain. And Dean was really distressed. And I just kind of zoned out. I could hear the cops talking to him, and he was really upset. And God, I felt so bad that I was the one who knocked on his door. But he did help me, because I don't know what their problems were.
Once Candice had more time to process it all, police questioned her again to get her to repeat her version of events, presumably to see if she remembered any more crucial information. After all, they're trying to make sense of the inexplicable. During this second interview, this time with her dad present, police pushed Candice for more details, considering the different stories they were being told at that point by Dean and Louis.
Because it was what was happening, I didn't know if they were going to try and hurt me as well, so I was just kind of sitting in the kitchen, looking away, kind of huddling to myself. I was in pain.
Well, you just said, I'm not sure they were going to hurt me. What could they possibly want to hurt you for?
Well, I don't know. I think just because of how the situation came about, they were calling my name on the door, Candice, being angry, and came in and they were shoving Dean. Like I said, it happened really fast, and then they didn't seem like they were in there for long before they were then back outside, and Dean had locked the door again.
So from listening to the voices, who are the people you think are in the house?
I think it was
Dean, obviously, yourself.
Yeah, and Corey and Lewis.
Anyone else?
No.
Could there have been someone else and you weren't aware from voices, or?
Maybe, I don't know.
But they're the only ones you
and I think obviously in my head I was like, well, they were the ones, banging on the door, screaming my name. So I didn't think there'd be anyone else, but...
And they're the voices that were familiar to you from spending time with them throughout the day.
Correct.
So you mentioned shoving and commotion. So by that, from what you said, is it fair to say that's just shadows, in close proximity to each other and movement?
Yeah.
Do you remember anything specifically said?
No.
By any of the party?
I don't.
Did you say anything to anyone?
No, I was very quiet.
Because you were trying to be quiet?
Yeah.
Do you remember what specifically anything Dean said?
Well, when he got them out, I couldn't remember anything he said while they were in there.
Other
It was
than
just a lot of shoving.
the police on the phone,
Yes. And then he was saying to the police on the phone, oh my God, I think I've killed someone. And he was very, very distressed and freaking out. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I didn't see anything. He could have grabbed a weapon, I don't know. We were, sort of in the kitchen there.
Yeah.
But it didn't sound like anyone got hurt. But I mean, it's just so much going on in such a short period of time.
So how long do you think they would have been in from you realising they were in the house to Dean getting them out again? What time frame are you thinking?
Maybe a few minutes. Look, I could be wrong. Yeah, like I said, it's sort
You'd
of...
be surprised how short
I've
it
never
probably
been
was.
in an experience like this. I was just...
It seems like it goes for ages, actually. I mean, it's actually, might only be 20 or 30
Exactly,
seconds.
yeah.
Being there. Did you see Corey again at any stage?
No.
Did you see?
I didn't see any of their faces again.
Did you? When was the last time you saw Thomas? Was that when he left the
When
party?
he left, yeah.
And you never laid eyes on him or the vehicle or anything?
No.
You can appreciate and understand why in those early stages police decided Dean's version of events was the most reliable. Candice confirmed men went inside, even if she couldn't say who. But the frustrating thing with Candice and Louis is from the night it all happened to this day, they've either changed their stories, contradicted each other, or stopped short of confidently clarifying a single thing. It's just raised more and more doubt. To Candice's credit again, she's shown remorse and taken some level of responsibility. The gravity of it all wasn't lost on her at the inquest. When she finished being questioned, as you'll hear in this next reenactment, she acknowledged the pain felt by Tom and Corey's families. Clearly, she lives with regret.
All right, Ms. Locke. Thank you very much for coming to give your evidence today.
Am I able to just say something?
Yes?
I just wanted to offer my condolences to the families that have lost someone. That's my biggest regret, not leaving that night with Tom, and I'm still sorry. And also to Dean's family for the trauma he's gone through, so I'm very sorry to everyone involved.
We sat around with Jay and the boys for a long time until nearly daylight, and I had to go down there and have a look, because I thought I got to go down.
Oof.
So I walked down there, and the policewoman that come and seen my wife and myself and told us at the start, she was there, and she came over to me and she said, "Oh, David, you're not allowed down here." And I said, "That's my son over there, laying on the footpath." She said, "I know." Anyway, she went and seen the detective. The detective said, "No, nobody's allowed in." And then I seen Tom out in the middle of the road where he'd made it to. But he tried to even make a 000 phone call, they said. And to make things worse, I would love to know Dean's story. I would love to know his side of it. But we're never ever going to get that. Just to ask him, why? Why were you so frightened? Was it because of what Candice was saying? Was it because of something else?
When you sat in that inquest and you realised that Dean wasn't going to be cross-examined,
Yep.
what was your reaction at the time?
Nearly had a heart attack. I just wanted to hear his side of the story, that was all.
In the next episode...
It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Unexplainable things.
Frustration erupts as the inquest falls off the rails. We've got lawyers storming out at an inquest in protest.
I've never seen that before. You know, it was chaos. You know, it really was.
The key man, Dean Webber, is excused from being questioned.
Well, it's very unusual, and I've never seen circumstances like this.
Why? One of the most experienced legal minds in the country, a former coroner, can't believe what he's hearing.
What strikes me is that we're left with so many questions and unresolved questions.
From a purely legal perspective, did they get it wrong?
I think they did, yes.
Alva Beach, Death at the Door is a 9 podcasts and 60 minutes production. Written and presented by me, Adam Hegarty. The producer is Jess Lodge. Editing and sound design by Maddie White.